questions, comments, anything at all?
Yes, I have a question.
Well, I got to go to Sally first. Sally,
Okay.
Sally
All
trumps
right.
anybody here.
All these trees, they just came up by themselves or did you plant them?
No, the trees all came up by themselves. Mainly, yeah. The trees have all come up. We've been running this as a continuous pig pasture now for 15 years. We have a couple that are older that have been 20 years. And this is one, just so everybody understands, we lease 8 pieces of property right now, so we're raising 1,000 hogs this year. So we've got 10 of these scattered around other places. So we're, like for example, we've got a neighbor over here with a 25-acre abandoned field growing back in scrub and honeysuckle and just, you know, he's paying taxes on it but not doing anything with it. We rented it from him at double going pasture rate, and we've divided it into 40 half-acre paddocks, put in a water line, and we're raising $250,000 worth of pork off of that 25-acre patch. He's paying the whole taxes on his whole farm for the year from that little 25-acre scrub patch that he hasn't touched for 20 years because it's unhandy and it's just going back to brush and scrub. And we've now turned into this beautiful grassy silvo pasture with the brambles gone and the honeysuckle gone, and it's this beautiful grass silvo pasture as an economic engine. And so the pigs act as a symbiotic disturbance factor for the germination of all these different species. Yes. Yes.
Will the pigs eat the black walnut? I see you have some black walnut.
Yes, the pigs will. You ought to watch them break a black walnut and pick out the meat. You know, these pigs, they don't have to get any licenses. They don't have to buy insurance. They don't have to worry about going to the chiropractor or the doctor. They don't have to worry about education, retirement, recreation, portfolios, you know, bank collapses. All they got to do is be a successful pig. And they can spend 10 minutes picking out the little meats from that acorn they've crushed and be as happy as a clam, and nobody's sitting there hurrying them up, you know, or anything. They're just
Yeah, black walnut, that's what I was asking.
Black walnut, yes, absolutely. Okay. And that's why we're leaving black walnuts in the patch. There are persimmons here as well, and oak trees. So okay. Yeah, we like to encourage mass trees. Actually, all the cross fences have honey locust planted in them, which are great proteinaceous pea pod. Pot.
That's another source of feed.
Another source of food. Yeah.
How do you move your pigs when it's not to an adjacent pen? You're taking them from here somewhere.
How do we move the pigs? Like when we bring them home to go to slaughter,
Yeah.
we just open the gate and herd them home.
Oh, they just follow you.
They just, well, we herd them, I mean, but they actually walk faster than a cow. Their gait, a pig's gait, if you have cows and pigs together, the pigs will always lead the cows. Their gait is faster than a cow is much more.
And they just follow you.
Follow us, or we just herd them. You know, the first one just, he's curious, he heads down the path, and I mean, from a mile away, you know, they just go.
And then what about shelter? Now, I'm in Pennsylvania. We're supposed to get hail this afternoon, and we have pigs outside. We have sheds. But what do you do in inclement weather like that, or even in the winter?
They're tough. They'll get in under brush and under places.
So we don't need to be moving.
Oh
these
my,
sheds around.
we had a set of pigs 2 years ago. We had one set that we hadn't gotten in before the first big blizzard came in December. Remember that, Tracy? We got whatever 24 inches of snow. We had one group of 50 hogs still left up in one of the mountain acorn glens that we hadn't gotten in time. We couldn't even get to them for 3 days. I mean, we couldn't physically get to them. We got up there 4 days later. They were as happy as a clam. I mean, they made a nest. They dug out a place under a deadfall, and they were sleeping together, and just they were as happy as could be. They were happy to see us. Yeah. But then it was, whatever. It was several days later they were actually able to drive the road enough to pack down a path and they could actually get home. But they're incredibly hard. These animals, they're much harder. What's Okay, the water source, you see this black plastic
Yeah.
pipe?
Yeah. For the water tank, but what about for the wallows? How are you making them?
The rain brings them.
Oh, they're just natural.
No, they're not natural. The pigs make them.
Right, they dig it out.
The
but then
pigs
the rain
dig it out
fills
and
it in.
make them, and then it stays from time to time. So
Okay.
it becomes kind of a continuous bathtub for them.
I see.
The water that's here is coming from a mile away up in the mountain where we have built a series of ponds and have trapped millions of gallons of water up in the mountain. And so we have 5 miles of water line, some buried and some not, that gives us gravity water, 80 PSI water. Your domestic water system is about 41 or 42. This is 80 PSI water, no pumps, no electricity over the entire farm. So let me say a word about that. It's the tragedy of our day that we are surrounded by 5th and 6th generation farms that still don't have a developed water source. Water is the beginning of life. If you don't have water, you've got nothing. I mean, water's more important than fat, right, Sally? I mean, yeah, okay. I don't get a chance to pick on Sally very often, so I tease her a little bit. Okay, so, yeah, Jeffrey?
I know they're all cows. Do you castrate the male pigs?
We do castrate the male pigs. Yes, we do.
And
Yes.
you do that yourself?
We either do that ourselves or the growers that we get our piggies from do it when they bring them in. Okay, so the tragedy is we're surrounded by all these 5th and 6th generation farmers. We love them to death, but they've been putting money in white fences and barns and concrete and you know, dually pickup trucks and whatever. And the first blip that comes along, they're running down for some drought relief, some program, some low interest credit or whatever, and they're running around in all these tanks. You know, we just had this Derrico, 2 months ago. Some of you know about it. Those who are near here know about this huge windstorm that we had, and a lot of people in this county were out of power for 4 or 5 days. We had power down every place, and of course, livestock people. We had whole Tyson chicken house die. You don't read about that in the paper. They keep it pretty hush hush. You know, that's one of those unmentionables, unspeakables. You know. But anyway, we had no power. The morning after that, guess what? We had water. We had, you know, it didn't affect gravity. And I mean, the day gravity quits, I'm out of here. You know. And so we just came out. We never had a blip as far as we had blips, but we didn't have a blip as far as water was concerned, because that water just kept coming with no electricity, no pumps, no nothing. You know, it bespeaks. It's a great story of our time that Europeans came into this country with, you know, mechanical advantage, innovation, cleverness, and all this. All right, came into this area, and for 150 years plowed up the valley to grow grain. Today we're still doing it, plowing it up to grow grain to feed herbivores that aren't supposed to have grain anyway. Sent 3 to 5 feet of topsoil down to the Chesapeake Bay to create enough turbidity to kill the clam and the crab and oyster populations in Chesapeake Bay. If all of that time and energy and labor spent tilling for grains to feed herbivores that shouldn't have had them in the first place had been focused instead on strategically impounding water up in these valleys and swales in the Blue Ridge and Allegheny Mountains around us, by today, 100 years later, we would have become drought-proof and flood-proof and have recreated Eden. Instead, it was plowed and squandered and raped, so that today we have rock exposures and so little soil that when we came to this farm in 1961, there was so little soil on this farm it wouldn't even hold up electric fence stakes. So Dad poured concrete in tires, pushed a 1/2-inch pipe, one straight up and down and one on a slant, and my brother and I, we were little kids, we could reach just get on the edge of a concrete tire and heave it off, and we put these stanchions in. He'd come along and put electric fence stakes in because we didn't have enough soil to hold up electric fence stakes. Now, you know, if somebody'd come into that Presbyterian, Lutheran, Episcopal, Anglican, Baptist, Methodist, whatever, Wesleyan church and yelled, "Hey, somebody took your horse," you know, Elder John, well, the whole group had been out on a posse to bring that guy to justice, right? But here they were, sitting in the pew, doing all this wonderful stuff, while they were absolutely raping and pillaging nature's equity, their own equity, sending it away. Their legacy was skeletons and a lack of soil. And we are trying to bring that back. So now today, in those areas that were just solid, you know, there were a lot of places on this farm with just solid rock, just shale, just big shale galls. Today we have 8 inches of soil on them, and we don't use the concrete tires anymore. 50 years later, okay? Now that's, you know, it's 8 inches. It's not 3 feet like it ought to be, but it's 8 inches, which is more than it was 50 years ago.